CAPSI podcast series, Conversations on African Philanthropy.
Welcome to Global Africa Conversations, brought to you by the Wits Business School Center for African Philanthropy and Social Investment. The Global Africa Conversation bring to you global African leaders from different professions, different walks of life, different interests. We have selected feminist leaders, political leaders, entrepreneurs, and NGO leaders who are working on matters of Africa's economic transformation, women's political leadership. This program is normally run by Professor Becky Moyo, who's currently on business leave, and I am standing in for him, and hopefully you will find the replacement half as competent as the main presenter. My name is Brian Tamuka Kagoro, and here we mix humor with seriousness, but we keep it real. Welcome to the Wits School of Business Center for African Philanthropy and Social Enterprise, Global Africa Conversations. Professor Becky Moyo, who ordinarily does this, is away, and I'm not even at the Wits School of Business, but somehow I managed to hijack the cameras. Anything can happen in Johannesburg. I'm joined by two prominent social justice activists, come politicians, and I found them having coffee and thought to myself, why miss a great opportunity? And only after I'd invited them, it occurred to me they hadn't even met. So please, welcome to the show, and I'm glad that you are meeting each other. So what I will ask, ladies first, please introduce yourself to the audience, who you are, what you do, and what you've been doing for the last 40, 30, 20, 10 years. You look 35, so yeah.
Thank you, Brian. Winnie Kiiza is my name, a former member of parliament in Uganda. Mm-hmm. I was a member of parliament for 15 years, and I was able to lead the opposition as the first female leader of the opposition in the parliament of Uganda. And you can know how hard it is to lead the opposition in a country like mine. But here I am, and I'm so passionate about social justice, like you have said, good governance, and of course, human rights. So for the last many years, I've been at the helm of politics. I started politics when I was 25 years as a local councillor, and then later on joined the national politics as a member of parliament. Led many accountability committees because of the experience that I had gathered in the district council, where I served as secretary for finance, secretary for education. And then when I came to parliament, I chaired the accountability committee on local government accounts, the committee on government assurances, acted as the opposition chief whip, and then later on as the leader of the opposition. But in 2020, I announced that I was not running again. So I decided not to run in the election of 2021 because I realized that there was a leadership gap amongst the women that I needed to contribute to outside the leadership position. This was because I knew that when I am a member of parliament, I will have multiple works to do to service the constituency, maybe to service my political party, and I wouldn't have sufficient time to concentrate on building the capacities and capabilities of the other women so that together we can have a voice. And so currently, for the last 5 years now, out of parliament, I've been participating in mentorships, in intergenerational trainings, ensuring that I lift the hands of other women so that together we can make the world a better place for all of us to live in. So that's what I've been doing.
Wow.
And I want to continue doing that.
Wow. And then you look like President Sam Nujoma. Is he any relative of yours? Please tell us who is Arnold Tsunga?
All right. No, thank you, Brian. And I think Professor Becky has taken a risk to give you this. I hope we can return the facilitation back to him. But anyway, Arnold Tsunga. I'm a human rights lawyer. Currently, the principal managing partner of a law firm called Tsunga Bamulo International that is based in Zimbabwe but does work in the region. And yeah, I think ultimately we are creatures of our own history and environment. So I was born in Rhodesia during the colonial era. And so with racial segregation, most people of our age, including yourself, I must say, we were born to struggle against racial domination, against injustice, and so the credentials of resistance to injustice were things that were born with us. And then I've also been involved in a number of things, listening to my sister Winnie, whom I'm seeing for the first time.
Yeah.
We had a lot of contacts before virtually.
4 years now, or 5 actually.
It's actually more
5
than,
years.
It should be more than 5.
Because it was, I think, 2021.
2021, so it's about 4 years, yeah. When we met in difficult circumstances of resisting against oppression. But anyway, so for me, I've moved, the trajectory has been interesting in the life I have lived. That born into racial domination because of the apartheid system. Then I also, when I finished my law degree at the University of Zimbabwe, I played football and in the Premier League.
You were one of the best footballers, if I remember.
Yes, I did quite well for a lawyer. So once I finished playing soccer, and I found myself with a lot of time, I was then attracted to give pro bono services to members of Zim Rights because I was a Zim Rights member. And through that process, it took me into the struggles of ordinary people. Zim Rights is a grassroots membership organization, and I became the chairperson in Manicaland. And then through that process, I then came into contact with yourself and with Tendai BT when there was...
Terrible twins.
Terrible twins. That's what we called you. But there was a constitutional process that was happening in Zimbabwe in the early 2000s, immediately after the formation of the main opposition led by Morgan Tsvangirai. And you guys traversed the whole of Zimbabwe to try and bring about sensitization and awareness around the need for a homegrown constitution. So that's when I then also got sucked into human rights activism, and we had Zimbabwe Lawyers for Human Rights then, because we were already seeing the initial signs that the legal system was being instrumentalized, weaponized to attack human rights activists, civic space, pro-democracy activists, and disliked individuals. So with that, I wasn't really surprised that I then grew to become the Africa Director for the International Commission of Jurists, and then formed a number of human rights defender organizations. And as a result of that, that's where I then met Winnie, my sister, when we were trying to deal with an oppressive system in Uganda. So I'm very pleased to meet her for the first time and to be interviewed by you, Brian.
Yes. So when you're looking at these young people, from Tanzania to Morocco, it doesn't matter where you go in the world, there is a whole bubbling up of young people, right? It's almost as an energy across the entire face of the earth. Young people who are saying, no, we won't accept nonsense. They question everything. During our generation, we used to organize around traditional NGOs, sometimes around religious, ethnic, and other. These guys are organized using non-traditional processes. Like sometimes they don't even know each other, like the two of you.
Yeah.
So
We have been organizing
you have been
without
organizing
knowing.
without knowing each other. So how would you describe this moment we are in? And what are the positives about it?
Winnie, go for it. East Africa is more
I
defined.
think the moment we are in is a challenging moment. One for the population of the young people that we have, majority of whom are unemployed, majority of whom have really real energy that needs to be put to proper use, but they are not getting what to do. Much of our curriculum in the different countries of our continent created more of the job seekers than the job makers. And so every other year, universities all over the continent are pouring young people on the streets of the nations without any plan of how they are going to get into the job market. And so these young people have a lot of knowledge, have a lot of aspirations, have a lot of excitement and a lot of zeal. But nobody wants to give them what to do. So one, they are annoyed. Two, they feel the elders have overstayed and are taking their positions. Then four, they have I think the leverage now of technology, social media that brings them together. Like it has been an enabler to my relationship with my brother here, that we have been friends for now 4 years, but we hadn't met to the extent that when we were meeting, we were like we have known each other for years.
Yep.
Yesterday I was meeting one of the prominent politicians in Zimbabwe, Fazai. Because of social media, we appeared like we have been together for years, and yet we only communicate online. We see each other's posts and tweets, and our organizing could have been around that. And so that is why you will find that while in the past, we didn't have this heavy presence of social media, and so the only person that we would rally around, the one who would bring us closer, is the NGOs. But now, because young people didn't have money anyway, but now they can use a small data that they have to talk to each other, find out what is working for the others in their areas, and they see whether they can replicate the same in their own countries. And so I would imagine that there is need to still help them and guide them in how do their work and how they organize. It is still very important not to let them do their work unguided. And so that is where we still need the civil society and mature politicians to come on board, hold their hands and tell them, yes, you're doing a great job, we see it and we see you, but let's hold each other's hands. And for me, I'm very much interested in the intergenerational mentorship, where the young lawyers can learn from the Tsungas of this world, young politicians can be held by the Winnies of this world, and possibly young professionals who are coming into the civil society world can have Brian's hand and you hold them, so that together we build an ecosystem that supports each other's work.
Arnold.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with my sister that there's a lot of anger and frustration among the young people, I think, as a result of lack of effective opportunities for survival and for them to pursue the best in themselves. And that is linked to the question of governance and the inability of those who wield political power and the responsibility to govern in an accountable way and to deliver opportunities to our people, that you have that anger. But then the anger and frustration alone is not enough.
Not enough, yeah.
And whilst it's necessary to transform or to create a basis for forward movement, if it's not properly directed by informed decisions and ideological anchoring, then the issue which Winnie talks about in terms of social media and the effective channels of large volumes of information going to the young people, that in itself creates a potential double-edged sword in terms of the sovereignty of our nations and the ability to transform the desire for change into what I can call Pan-African growth of our countries and our continent. And so that's where the fear for me is that you have all the conditions for change in the form of unhappy, disgruntled young people and unperforming political leadership. But then, as has happened in many countries, Zimbabwe, for example, where in 2017, the old generation that were hanging on to power needed to move. But the move itself in terms of change, we didn't change to transform our society into a more democratic, just society. But if anything, it changed into reinforcing the control by those who had authoritarian intents. So I see that as the big challenge, that social media, yes, the desire for change, yes, but the failure to have even, some are calling it internet sovereignty, some are calling AI sovereignty, in that our countries have not invested enough to ensure that the information that is generated is culture, politically context specific, in a way that then ensures that the anger and desire for change transforms into positive construction of transformative societies in Africa. So that's what I see as a problem. But otherwise, the desire for change is there, and the concept of the need for an intergenerational vision of Africa, so that the different generations, as they execute their generational mandate, is to achieve an intergenerational political vision. That's where I see it as a problem.
All right, my final question for the two of you. If you look to the crystal ball, or you were being prophetic, youth momentum, resistance from the elders, then this big problem around resourcing social justice, whether you are looking at human rights defense or you are looking at actually enabling creative institution and infrastructure building. What should be done?
I think on my part, I will put more attention to the women, where I come from. There is a lot of organizing by the women, and most especially women intending to get into leadership. But the question of patriarchy, the question of resource is a huge question on the side of women who want to get into leadership. And we know that globally, women form 50% of the population. And when you have a 50% of the population not into the leadership of that same population, then there is
A challenge.
a challenge. And so we need to have them resourced. We need to see them networked, that they are not doing work in silos. What is working best in Zimbabwe can work best in Uganda, can work best in Cameroon, can work best in Congo. And we learn from each other's energies and each other's ideas. And so there is need for resource to make that happen. But the ones giving the resource are also now having challenges, and they are questioning so many things. Some of them may not be knowing these challenges. So there is need to also go back to those who are resourcing the struggles, to let them understand that our struggles and our challenges continue changing faces. Today you may be fighting patriarchy, but tomorrow the patriarchal setting changes into militarization of elections. So that when women want to participate in leadership spaces, they find a clogged system with militarization. That when they want to avoid militarization and want to jump into another sector, they are finding again a building block of resistance in terms of monetization of elections. And they know that women cannot have enough money
Playing the money game, yeah.
to pay for their elections. This is the same with the young people. So the women and the young people find these same problems. And so possibly this would be a call to those who want to live in better communities. What you sow is what you reap. If you want social justice around the world, if you want democracy around the world, if you want good governance, invest in it. There are key people who want to invest in the building of nations by offering themselves as candidates. Find money to enable them run. There are those who are willing and ready to put their necessary infrastructure to support the different actors to work. Find the resources and give them to enable them to do what they are supposed to do and what they can do best, so that together we build working systems, together we build better nations that will empower, that will energize, that will create social change.
Wow. Arnold?
Thanks.
Yeah.
For me, there are two philosophical positions that I have, and I totally agree with everything she says and adopt it. But then, Brian, you and I, at some point, we started a deep analysis of the state of the human rights movement.
Yeah.
And I don't think that that's an area that has been given enough justice to. We need to conclude that, because the delinkage between the human rights movement, the NGOization and professionalization that you started researching on, has created a de-link between social movements and the vehicles of delivery for the international development sector, which is the NGOs.
The NGOs, yeah.
So you find that the international development funds are captive to NGOs, but NGOs themselves are de-linked from social movements. And when we spoke about how myself and Winnie know each other for a long time, it had nothing to do with funding. It had everything to do with solidarity and networking as human rights defenders. So that's what the youths are doing. That's what the labor are doing. That's what the student movement are doing. And as a result, they don't see the human rights NGO movement as relevant for resolving their struggles. And so what it means is that the international development organizations and finance that is supposed to be giving oxygen to these struggles, they're not going there. And it then takes me to the second philosophical issue, which is basically what Bob Marley is saying in the 80s, that none but ourselves. Yeah, we liberate ourselves. So the outsourcing of our struggles as African people to donors, to the Western world, and in the process, almost an ideological, intellectual belief that you can only get liberation if you get funding from the West.
From the West.
And that that people from other parts of the world, for example, the East, cannot be either tactical allies or people that can help with resolving some of our problems. I think we need to resolve those issues. So what I'm simply saying is, as African people, let's not outsource the struggles, our own struggles and our own liberation to anyone except ourselves. That's why I think the youths are doing, and then the NGOs that are getting a lot of funding ultimately will become part and parcel of the problem in terms of the liberation philosophy of our continent.
Well, none but ourselves can free our minds and our countries. We have to find ways to sustain. Thank you both for joining the Global Africa conversation at very short notice. But you have done excellently well. If this were an exam, you would have graduated cum laude. Thank you so much.
We wait for the graduation ceremony.
Yes.
You've been listening to the CAPSI podcast series, Conversations on African Philanthropy.